This episode is brought to you by Perspective Space, a community gathering venue in Encinitas, California that fosters mindfulness, sustainability, creative expression, and connection. More about them later. Let me tell you about the new friends and sponsors of the show, Perspective Space. Perspective Space is a unique venue in the heart of Encinitas, California, open for individuals and companies that promote mindfulness, creativity, sustainability, and connection through their practice. The space is open and bright and well suited for art shows, yoga, photo shoots, sound healing, art classes, workshops, and other community gatherings of up to 60 people at a time. Perspective Space is a project by Think Parallax, a local sustainability strategy and communications agency that generously opened up its office for the local art community during the pandemic. I interviewed the CEO, Jonathan Hanwood, in Season 8, Episode 6, and I'm dedicating several episodes in this season to feature their artists and residents. To learn more, go to perspectivespace.com or click the banner on intheartscene.com. It's perspectivespace.com or click the banner on intheartscene.com. Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, an art podcast that has it all. I'm your host, Galina Marquez, and I invite fascinating people to talk about their personal creative journeys, success stories, and inspiration. We talk about art business and marketing, how to find your creative voice, and all the new trends in the art world like NFT, AI, and such. Join me and my guest for today's conversation. This episode is showcasing one of many talented San Diego artists. I am deeply passionate about our local arts community and very excited when I have a chance to bring my fellow San Diegans on the show. This passion led me to start a new project, SanDiegoArtDirectory.com. It's a free platform that serves as the ultimate hub for all things related to the rich tapestry of arts and culture in our county. On the website, you can find events, workshops, arts organizations, information about the shows and concerts, anything that an art lover like you may want to see and experience in San Diego. And for fellow artists, there's an information about the open calls, grants, other opportunities, services, venues, and many other resources to help you advance in your art practice. And you can post on San Diego Art Directory too. Join SanDiegoArtDirectory.com, create a free account, and start posting your listings today. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly email updates. And now let's get to our today's guest. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to In the Art Scene podcast. I have a very special guest today. And I know I say it every single time, but that's just because all my guests are very special. And today I'm actually having a president of the board and executive director of a very, very cool art nonprofit here in San Diego County and Encinitas, California. Cathy Carey, welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you, Galina. I'm really excited to be here. So my name's Cathey Carey, and I am the current president of Surfing Madonna Oceans Project. And I started off doing being executive director, doing all the arts programming. And then I kind of segued into managing a lot of things because you can't have a successful program if you don't have funding, if you don't have marketing, if you don't have social media. So I do kind of a lot of everything.
Awesome. Well, the first question I have, and I know a lot of what Surfing Madonna is doing in the community, but I don't know exactly where the name came from. Why is it Surfing Madonna?
Okay, so have you seen the mosaic in Encinitas?
I have, yes.
Okay, so
I will make sure to put the photo of that mosaic in the show notes so you guys have a reference. So,
awesome. Thank you. So Mark Patterson, who is the creator of the Surfing Madonna, starting many years ago, like maybe starting back in 2008 or possibly even earlier than that, he worked for Microsoft and sales. And in meetings, he was an artist. So he also was always doing sketches. And so he would just start drawing these images of the Madonna on a surfboard. And the first time he did it, he kind of thought, wow, that's really weird. I wonder what that's all about. And then he noticed that he just kept doing it. So the Surfing Madonna is literally, it's the Virgin of Guadalupe is the traditional image. You'll see that all over. If you were to Google that image, you would see that that is the actual Madonna on the surfboard. And then he wanted to have her on a surfboard, interacting with the ocean, because it was important to him to bring attention to saving the ocean.
All right. Well, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about him and his background and how he came up with this idea for the organization, and then we will talk about what exactly the organization is doing.
Okay, great. So like I said, Mark Patterson was an artist, but his full-time job was in sales at Microsoft. And he had done a lot of sketching and drawing and, things like that throughout his life. But I wouldn't say that he was somebody that daily worked on art projects. So he had this one big, amazing idea that kind of came to him as a creative vision, is what I call it. And so he sees in his sketchbooks this image of the Virgin of Guadalupe on a surfboard. And he is encouraged by his friends, the biggest one being Bob Nichols, to pursue it further. And so Mark went to Ravenna in Italy, which is a well-known place for mosaic, and he learned the art of mosaic. And he actually created the face of the Surfing Madonna that's there in the mosaic in Italy, and he brought it back with him on the plane.
Wow.
So that's always a little bit amazing to me because that's heavy.
Yeah.
So it's a huge mosaic. It's 10 feet by 10 feet, and it's in panels. So he had to fit it into these panels, the face, and then continue doing the mosaic. So that's kind of how that came about. He had his friend, Bob Nichols, model somebody standing on a surfboard because he wanted to get that right. And so that's why she's goofy footed on the board, because Bob Nichols had that stance, which is, the certain foot forward. And she's wearing the black booties, somebody that might be surfing in booties, which is always funny to me because she just looks so cool.
It's a very distinct image. It's really it is really curious to look at, especially when you're not just driving by on Encinitas Boulevard, but if you have a chance to walk by and actually stop and see the details. It's a very, very curious image. It's really interesting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful at night too. We have it lit up so that it's shrine-like at night. I mean, it's really neat to just go there and just kind of take in the ambiance of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing artwork. So he created an image of Surfing Madonna, and how the image and the name got attached to a nonprofit organization that is involving the art community to save the oceans.
Yes. So it's a great story. So in the beginning, so Bob Nichols helped Mark install the Surfing Madonna, and she was originally under the bridge there. And when they installed it, they didn't get permission. They didn't get an agreement from the city to put it there or anything like that. They just wanted it to be there. He didn't want to take credit for it. He just installed it. Nobody knew who did it. And they chose to do it at a time when the fire department was busy across town at a fire. And so they hustled over there with all these huge mosaic panels in the back of a truck. They dressed as construction workers, and they they surrounded themselves with a cloth, wore hard hats, and started putting the panels up. And the fire department did end up coming by and said, "What are you guys doing?" And Bob said, "Well, we are doing a seismic test on the bridge." And they said, "Oh, okay. Didn't know about that." So, it's funny and anecdotal now, but it's really kind of a fun story. So they put it up, and we have some real great pictures of Mark standing there by it on the first day when people start to come up and go, "What is this?" And as you probably know, it became a worldwide phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
The quest to find out who the Surfing Madonna artist was. The city of Encinitas was trying to figure it out because it was an illegal graffiti, religious art. What is this? We've got to take this thing down. And so they started searching glass shops to find out who had purchased a large amount of blue glass. So very clever. But Mark Patterson was anticipating that. And so he had a saying that whenever you're going to do something like that, pay cash. Don't leave a paper trail. And so he did. He bought all the blue glass in cash. And so that was, there's so many funny little stories like that. But so eventually he did name himself as the artist. He was fined, I think, about $6,000. It was going to cost some money to move it to someplace else. The community rallied around him and said, oh, no, don't destroy it. Don't take it down. Because by then, I mean, it was just a huge phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so collections were made. I don't know if they had a GoFundMe account or what, but a lot of money was raised in order to save the Surfing Madonna. They did relocate it, and there was a lot of money left over. And so Bob and his wife, Megan, and Mark formed the Surfing Madonna Oceans Project, because as I said before, it was really important to Mark to save the ocean. I mean, that was part of his vision, that who is going to save the ocean? You know, the Virgin of Guadalupe is going to save the ocean, so get inspired. And so they formed the nonprofit based on that. The intention being to bring attention to coastal stewardship, ocean environment, protecting the ocean from pollution and just all those kinds of things. And so they started a 501c3 nonprofit, which is a big deal to go through all that. And then they decided, okay, so now what do we do? What is going to be our community outreach? And so they decided that they were going to do special needs surf camps. So kind of amazing when you think about it. These are special needs kids that are going to be going surfing into the ocean. I mean, when I first heard about it, I'm like, how do you do that? But they did. It's incredible. They started doing those in about 2011, I believe, 2013, were the beginning years. And we are still doing them. We were able to continue. We only missed 1 year of the pandemic. We are continuing to do that.
Amazing.
It is amazing. So we have 200 children a summer, over 10 Saturdays, and there's 10 kids in 2 sessions on a Saturday. And we have Surf and Fire, who are a local surf instruction school, put on, bring instructors, and we get tons of volunteers, probably 30 to 40 volunteers come out. Yeah. And they come from the Teen Volunteers of America, which are teenage boys and their families who are engaged in doing volunteer work to become the leaders of tomorrow. And I got to tell you, these kids are the leaders of today because they're amazing. And just to watch them develop the empathy with these special needs kids, helping them surf is really an incredible thing. And the other group we have is the National Charity League. And those are girls in grades 7 to 12 and their moms. And they come out and are amazing, just incredible. The rapport they get with the kids, I think the kids really feel like they are hanging out with the cool kids. And they are. These are the cool kids. They're smart, they're capable, they're giving, they're just wonderful human beings. And so to see the teenagers working with the other teenagers or even the younger kids like that, I think is just so much more effective for the special surfers than if it was just the adult instructors doing it. There's really a magic that happens there. And then the other thing we do is that we have an award ceremony and we present them with a medal. We put the medal over their heads, just like they're on the Olympic podium. And they just, if they can stand up, sometimes they're in wheelchairs and stuff, but they are so proud to get that medal. And we have their team present it to them. So these teenage volunteers and the instructors. And it's just an incredible event. You see people come walking down the beach and they're like, they'll have tears in their eyes. I mean, I have tears in my eyes sometimes. And they're like, what is going on here? This is amazing. So it's just this magical thing that Surfing Madonna Oceans Project took on. So in the early days, how did we fund all that? So in the early days, Bob and Megan were into athletic runs and marathons and stuff like that. That's what they knew how to do. So they formed the Encinitas Half Marathon and the Surfing Madonna Beach Run. and incredibly wildly popular for many years. And that's how we funded everything. We gave a lot of money to special needs groups, YMCAs, school programs, fantastic stuff. And then the pandemic hit. And so all in-person events were canceled. And so all the fundraising kind of went out the door. And Bob and Megan moved. Mark at that time had dementia for a while. He had early onset dementia. And so he was just a lovely person, but really wasn't able to run things anymore and do stuff. So they all moved to Oregon. And Mike Redman, who is the vice president and was president, we've kind of switched it back and forth. And I took it on. And so I saw that Surfing Madonna Oceans Project, our designation was as an arts nonprofit. And so I'm like, hey, you guys do race events. Let's start doing arts. Okay. Because the arts really suffered during the pandemic. And so it was my goal to outreach financially and with exhibitions and with marketing to artists. And so that's what we did. So starting in 2021 to now, we've had 5 exhibitions and done all kinds of stuff, which we'll probably get into later. But that's kind of how we grew into an arts programming partner for people in North County, San Diego.
This is amazing. Something that just started with an ad hoc art project that wasn't even legal turned absolutely accidentally turned into an amazing nonprofit, which wasn't really art related nonprofit, but now it is. Oh my God, it's a full circle moment, I think.
It's strangely miraculous. And
yes.
It's just one of those things, but it's interesting because the story of the Virgin of Guadalupe has a strange resonance to Mark's life. And her story is that she appeared to Juan Diego, a Aztec, I believe he was of Aztec heritage and had converted to Christianity. And she appeared to him and said, go tell the bishop in Mexico City, you need to build a church here. And so he goes in there and the bishop says, yeah, I don't think so. And he goes back, he tells her, and she goes, oh no, you need to convince him. And she opens up her cloak and she tells him where to pick roses. And it's wintertime. And so he gathers up all these roses in his cloak and he takes it to the bishop and he opens his cloak to the bishop and all these roses come out. And there's this image, burned into the cloak of the Virgin of Guadalupe, that look of the glowing, it's a very specific image of the Madonna. So, as the legend goes, the bishop then pronounces it a miracle and they go and build a church there. So Mark's story is, he gets this vision of creating this mosaic, calling to people's attention the ocean. He places it there. There's a lot of pushback.
Yes.
And then Lucadia Pizza comes forward and says, we'll take it, put it here. We'll create a little park for her. And everybody came, and it's an amazing local artwork, and it just, everybody loves it. And now we're doing all these really neat community things, arts programming, surf camps. And she really became an important call to save the ocean, notice the ocean, be in the ocean, enjoy the ocean, experience joyful time at the coast, in the water, be a steward.
It's amazing. And Lucadia Pizza is still there. It's right on the corner of Encinitas Boulevard and 101, 1 block away from the famous Moonlight Beach in California, in Encinitas. Wow. And the Surfing Madonna is embedded in the wall right there, right on the intersection. It's absolutely amazingly stunning work of art. Wow. So I have a question. How long have you been involved with the organization, and when did you take over?
So I started in 2021, February of 2021, and I started off as executive director. Mike Redman was president. We didn't know anything, but we were really enthusiastic, and so we kind of were like, okay, so how are we going to make money? So first we tried a challenge event, which was the answer to in-person marathons, was to go do these online challenge events. And so we did that for 2 years. it wasn't successful enough. So I immediately started applying for funding and grants. And at that time, there were PPP loans. And so I got a couple of those. And then I got some business stimulus grants from Encinitas. And then as I kind of got, I took from the Rise Foundation, I guess is what they are. I was able to take a grant writing seminar. And so that kind of was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try and get us some grants. And so I got 11 grants in that amount of time for $230,000.
Amazing.
Which, yeah, so our surf camps are funded by the California Coastal Conservancy for 2 summers now. This one 23 and next one 24. And we've had the California Arts Council support 2 art shows, Ocean, Earth, Air, and Poway. And Save the Ocean 3, which is coming up at the Escondido Municipal Gallery. We've had 2 other Save the Ocean shows, wildly popular. I mean, the artists really like them. The public really loves seeing the artwork. It's incredible. In fact, I've got you. This isn't live, but you can see it. So this is the book for the upcoming Save the Ocean 3 show. So we've got a catalog. We also have poets in it. I wanted to include all the arts, not just the visual arts. So we support poetry events. There's an Encinitas poetry slam that we have supported for the last 3 years. And musicians. We've tried to include musicians when we can. We've had new author readings at the Surfing Madonna. David Reed wrote a book called Uphill and Into the Wind that's become very popular. And he did a reading there to a small group in the middle of COVID. Everybody was masked. So we've really just tried to do everything we can for local artists. I really believe in that. I'm a local artist. I know how hard it is. So
Yes.
that's been my goal.
Yes, yes. It is really amazing. So first of all, is this book available for purchase?
Yes, it is on Blurb online.
Absolutely amazing. I will put the link in the show notes and the image of the book. So you guys can click the link, buy the book, get yourself familiarized with amazing San Diego artists of all walks of life, and support Surfing Madonna.
Thank you. That's awesome. That would be great.
Amazing. All righty. So now I wanted to talk about you. You're sitting in your studio. There's an amazingly vibrant artwork right behind you. I want to talk about your art.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I have been a local Encinitas, Carlsbad, and for a time Escondido artist. Right now I have a gallery in Cardiff that's like appointment only, where I kind of store everything. And so my business license is for Encinitas, so I'm fully legal. And so I am in galleries across the Southwest. I'm in Taos, I'm in Santa Fe off Canyon Road, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Tucson, Arizona. So a lot of my imagery is Southwestern. I love doing coastal scenes, but I don't have a gallery that's really here for those. So I often show those in like the Oceanside Museum of Art shows and things like that. I've been doing this all my life. I majored in painting, and I got a degree, a Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting and printmaking. And I went to the Corcoran School of Art in Washington, D.C., which is where I grew up. And have been doing this all my life. I've taught classes, I've taught BFA programs. My specialty is color theory. Most people recognize my style. If they know my name, they'll go, "Oh, that looks like a Cathy Carey." I mean, I've had people who are walking down the street call me up and say, "Are you?"
It's very distinct. It's very distinct. Yes.
So I really worked at doing that, at creating a style. And what I discovered through teaching is that a lot of people would come to me and they would say something like, "Oh, I want to loosen up, and your style is so loose, I want to be loose." And I would think, maybe you're not supposed to be loose, that might not be your personality, and that might not even be what you're best at, And so what I realized was I will never be the best draftsperson in the room. I'm never going to be a Da Vinci style drawing abilities, but what I was really good at was doing blind contour. So that means you're looking at what you're drawing, not at the paper. You look at the paper very little, and it creates distortions, but those distortions kind of become the emotional content. And so, philosophically, thinking about it, I thought, yeah, the thing that draws us to people, the thing that makes you love someone or like someone, it isn't the things that they're good at. It's their vulnerabilities. It's the things they're imperfect at. And so
Absolutely.
I realized that, and I thought, and that's true in paintings too. If you have something that's too perfect or clean, you don't necessarily have an emotion about it. But if you have an animal or a landscape and there's this emotional feeling to the distortion, it allows you to attach to it, kind of, which I find really interesting. And so that's what my style is. It's imperfect. So I do blank contour. And so I really like my drawings. And so I draw my drawings onto my canvas in a matte oil. I work in oils. And so I use a matte oil to do the lines. So because what I believe in terms of creating focal points is opposites. So if the oil paint is shiny and glossy, the line is matte. So you've already set up a dynamic push-pull between these two things. I also like to use opposites throughout the whole painting. So next to every warm color is a cool color. Next to every brilliant color is a neutral color. And next to every light color is a dark color. And by doing that, I create this compositional push-pull throughout the whole painting. And that's a theory that came from Monet. He's the guy that said, hey, let's activate the whole painting. A painting composition from the Renaissance was about a focal point being the face or the hands of a famous person, or the front door of a famous property. But Monet and the Impressionists said, we don't need a focal point like that anymore. We want your eye to travel across the painting and arrive at a focal point, but there's lots of focal points along the way. We want to lead the eye. And so that I took that on as part of my technique.
That sounds amazing. And I keep looking at that painting behind your back. And if you don't mind sharing the image so I can put it in the show notes.
Sure.
So our listeners can actually have a reference point.
Okay.
I see exactly what you mean, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. From the distance, I see it through the camera, obviously, it almost looks graphic, but there's so many different little details that it's not, it's not exactly graphic in the way that you have very simplistic big shapes next to each other. There is it's a map. There's a lot going on.
I like that. It's a map. That's good. Yeah, I take a lot, like the three artists that I have taken inspiration from are Van Gogh, Monet, and Matisse. And, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I can see that in your work. But if you were to look at an actual Van Gogh next to my paintings, you'll see they're really not that similar,
Yeah.
or Matisse or Monet. But I have some brush strokes like Monet, and then I have some very expressive brush strokes like Matisse or Van Gogh. So I've looked at them, I've been inspired by them the same way I'm inspired by looking at a landscape. But then I kind of take it into myself. I always work in the studio for my paintings. I'm not a plein air painter. And I try to live on the memory of how it felt to be in a place. A sense of joy, a sense of connection to that space, a sense of feeling the sun on your face, hearing the birds, noticing something running through the underbrush. I'm trying to capture that feeling of a moment. And I do that by not doing it in the moment, because then I'm just, kind of recording it. I want to remember it and keep that pulse.
And I can totally see it in your painting. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I have a question. So I assume that being a president and an executive director of a very influential and busy nonprofit organization, it probably takes a lot of time. Where do you find time to continue to create?
Yeah, that it has. I figure I put about 60 hours a week into Surfing Madonna.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. I am, maybe a little obsessed because I treat everything like it's an art project. It's like, I want it to be a certain way. It's like, if I think I can do it better, I'm not going to stop until I do. And sometimes I get to a point where I think, well, that's pretty much it. I can't make it any better. And so I looked at Surfing Madonna like that. And plus, I've also got to back up and say, I felt a real connection to Mark Patterson as an artist. When I came into the scene, he was already having, memory issues. And he was not married. He didn't have kids. He had wonderful friends. But I thought, wow, that's kind of like me. Who's going to help me? Who's going to come forward and save my legacy? And I thought, I need to do this for Mark. And I just I felt very strongly about that. And so that inspired me to keep going. I also feel very strongly about giving back to the community, my art people. And I think they need, things that I needed coming along that I think I can provide: exhibitions, financial support, marketing. And so that's what I've kind of tried to give back in that way. So I was starting off doing the arts programming, and that was great, and I loved it. But then I realized, oh, well, you can't put on a show if you don't advertise it. Okay, so then I'm really busy into the marketing and the social media, and I'm a former graphic designer, and I'm creating ads and newspaper press releases, and then I'm thinking, oh, well, if you're doing all that, you got to make sure your accounting is up to date and you're getting grants. So I had to go into that area, and and you have to file a lot of paperwork to be a 501c3, and you have to keep it up to date. And writing grants, I took on writing grants because I like language. I like describing things. I think I was able to put the joy and emotion into the grants that I felt doing the programs, and that was apparently successful. So kept doing it. But pretty soon, it gets to the point where you've got to step back a little bit. And so my way of managing all that actually is having the time that I paint, because then I escape into another world that's not stressful. And even though I like what I'm doing, just having that much stuff to do all the time gets stressful. So I paint, and I probably have done this year about 20 paintings, which sounds good, but I used to probably do 60 a year because I used to do about 5 a month. And so the galleries that I'm in are kind of like, when are we going to get more paintings? So, it's a bit of a, push-pull.
Yeah, well, I can totally see how inspired you are by doing this thing with Surfing Madonna, and it is true for a lot of artists. We're wearing lots of hats at once, and we're taking on things that are not necessarily coming naturally to us, like keeping the books and writing the grants and all of that stuff. I mean, a lot of the admin and marketing stuff, if you don't know what it is, even starting and learning, it's a lot. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it does take away from the creative time. But I have a question for you. Seeing how much passion you are putting into this project, I assume that it inspired at least some of your artwork.
Absolutely. Yes. And it feeds it. So that vision that I described of being on the beach, the kids are surfing in, everybody's clapping and cheering, and you see this look on their face. Like, this is, a child that probably isn't capable maybe of doing something on their own very often, if ever. And suddenly they are on a surfboard by themselves, flying across the waves, and they get this look of pure joy on their face. And it's transcending. I mean, it's like that is the moment, probably the best moment of their life. And you're seeing it. And it makes me tear up. When I see that, I think that's what I'm trying to do in my paintings. I want people to feel that when they look at my paintings. So being part of that inspires my paintings, because there's this well of joy that comes up, that feeling of movement and thrill and joy, and there's colors and lines and compositions and shapes that say all that stuff. symbolically. And so I speak in that language when I'm painting.
That's amazing. So you're not necessarily using the subjects in your paintings from the Surfing Madonna activities, but you are capturing the feeling and translating it into the amazing. So I also wanted to ask you, I know that there are so many fantastic San Diego, North County, and I don't know if it's only North County, artists involved in Surfing Madonna. Can you talk a little bit about the team that is making everything happen? Because I mean, so far it sounds like you are the one doing everything, but I know for a fact, and I know a few people from Surfing Madonna. I know that you have amazing people working with you.
Yes, very true. So I mentioned Mike Redman. He's been the president and vice president, and we'll switch back and forth. He is a retired for 22 years of teaching special ed in the San Marcos School District. So he's the guy that's really the aquatics director, and he's really our pro in the water with all the special needs kids. The other water person is Eric Franklin, and he is a military Camp Pendleton guy. He's the president of the Camp Pendleton Surf Club. And he brings a whole bunch of incredible guys who are associated with Camp Pendleton Surf Club. So if anything were to ever happen at the beach, the owner of Surf and Fire is the fire captain for Encinitas. And then we've got all these military personnel. I mean, they're the people that you call, Well, they're helping us. So it feels wonderful. So they're incredible. And then we have Cheryl Ehlers, who I think you know.
She has been on the show. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so she has been president of the San Diego Art Guild, Cole Oceanside Gallery. She's worked for the city of Encinitas in the arts. She has had her finger on the pulse of the arts everywhere. I mean, she knows everyone.
Yeah.
She has experienced everything. She has been our program administrator. So she's the person that's been working with, I prepare all the grant, I write the grant, but then after you do the program, you've got to send in all the receipts and tell them what it was all for and jump through all these hoops. And I give her all that stuff, but then she packages it and does her magic, reporting it back to the agencies. So she's fantastic. She's a wonderful advocate.
She's a ball of energy. Oh my God, I love that woman.
Yeah, she's wonderful. And she is just became a treasurer for us because she's also very good at the administration part. And so we're like, okay, the inner workings, you're really the best person for this. We also have Danny Salzhandler, who maybe has been on your show. And if not,
no,
you would love to have him.
I would love to have a connection. Sure.
Danny Salzhandler is called, the mayor of arts, for Encinitas. He is like the go-to guy for the arts. He does some things, I can't even begin to name all of them, but he's the guy that's been doing the 101 Artist Colony for years. He does the Arts Alive banners. So all those beautiful banners that you see hanging on flag posts, light posts in Cardiff, Leucadia, and Encinitas. That's Danny Salzhandler's work, kind of 100%. He does all of it, from hanging it in a bucket cup in the middle of the night to, being the guy selling them on auction day. He is really fantastic at that. He is an artist himself, sculptural artist. He does welding, works with metal and things like that. Great stuff, really neat looking, very large things. And he's also a poet, and he has the Full Moon Poetry Slam at the La Paloma Theater in Encinitas twice a year on a full moon. And we just finished one up in the summer. The next will be in the winter. And a poetry slam is a really neat thing. You have people come up. They need to have, I think, 3 poems. And they read them on the stage. There's judges that are chosen in the audience. We pass a bucket and people donate. The first 3 winners get a bucket of cash. And it's if you've never been to it, I highly recommend it. It's
that's amazing.
Incredible because it's performance as much as beautiful poetry and prose. The way they deliver it is also very meaningful. So I really enjoy doing that.
I used to write poetry back in my late teens, but it was all in Russian. And
Oh,
I've never written anything in English, but I'm thinking like, well, maybe I should just try and maybe, become to one of those events.
yeah, you should.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to rhyme. It's that's what prose is. It's modern poetry doesn't necessarily rhyme. In fact, some people would say they even look against no rhyming.
Yeah, that's always been a weird thing for me in English. Whenever I hear like modern poetry in English, it doesn't make much sense to me because I grew up with very classic Russian poetry where you have your syllables, you have the stresses, you count everything, and it's very rhythmical, and the rhymes are absolutely necessary. And like one step left, one step right, you're just ruining the whole thing. It's a composition. So
Right.
yeah, so it's very unusual for me to hear that. This is why I think I never tried to attempt, because I have no idea how to do that.
That's neat. That would be kind of a fun project to
Yeah,
see what it sounded like to take a poem you'd written in Russian, turn it into English, and try and read it rhythmically, but without, it's not going to have the pattern of the rhyme though. But it might be interesting on its own.
yeah, maybe I can just try and translate some of my old ones.
Yeah.
And just see how it sounds. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, all right. You convinced me. I'm
okay,
in.
Excellent. Good. So Danny Salzhandler, he also does the Halloween in the lumberyard, and they have a band, the Bucket Ruckus, who Mike Redman happens to be the band leader for and plays guitar. They're a lot of fun. They're a beloved musical group for 30 plus years, and they play every Halloween in the lumberyard plus other events. And let's see, who else do we have? We have, I think everybody else is pretty much involved in the aquatic side of it. Max Wittenberg, who is excellent. He supports our our surf programs. I mentioned Eric. Elaine is fabulous. She is a great support. She's a full-time postal worker. And so she doesn't live close by, but she's a wonderful, enthusiastic support. She's come to every art show and been just a wonderful outreach person. And gosh, I'm drawing a blank here, so I'm going to look at my board of directors and see who else I can call out here. So that was Elaine Brown Howard. I spaced her name. Oh, Patty McDaniel Wash. So she's our secretary, and she is the best person at surf camp. She's the person that can get okay, so this really happened the last camp. There was this child, and whatever the special need was, part of it was that he had some fears. He didn't like being near groups, so they were kind of down the beach from us. And I went over there and I was talking to the mom, and she said, yeah, we were in Hawaii for 2 weeks and he wouldn't get near the water. And so we're just trying to get him to see how close he can get and maybe splash his feet and just try and move towards that, because we go to Hawaii all the time. So Patty gets down there and she's playing with him. She's down in the sand playing with him. Pretty soon he is like waist deep in the water, splashing, playing.
Wow.
Parents were shocked. Like,
wow.
I can't believe this. Nobody could believe it. And he was just smiling and having a fabulous time. So she's kind of like the whisperer, the person that gets him into the ocean, lets him know it's okay. She's fantastic. So
Amazing.
she's really great. But that's our core team right now. And we work with a lot of artists in the community that enter our shows and stuff. So we have a lot of people that we rely on to enter and bring in fabulous stuff.
Well, my dear listeners, if you didn't get a full picture yet, I am sorry, but I think from what Cathy is describing, Encinitas is the place for the artists to be. I mean, this is probably the most vibrant art community in the entire San Diego County. It's mind-blowing. I love Encinitas with all my heart, even though I live like half an hour away, but I used to work there, and I'm there all the time. I used to be a member of the Off-Track Gallery and Carlsbad Oceanside Art League, and oh my God, this is just the way you're describing it, and the energy that you were exuding right now. It just makes me like, okay, sign me up for everything. So, speaking of signing up, can you please tell us a little bit of who can apply to what art shows you're running? When are the deadlines? I will make sure to put information in the show notes and link the website of Surfing Madonna where people can sign up for your email updates and all of that. But I just want our listeners to know: are you limiting to like North County, San Diego, or the entire San Diego County, or anyone can apply to be in the show? Who can support Surfing Madonna in what way, if we're talking about the art community?
Excellent. We have always been very conscious of being inclusive, and so we want to have as many people get on board as possible. I don't have an art sign up going on right now because we have the Save the Ocean 3 show, so it's already, everybody's been picked, it's been judged, it's going to get hung next week. But when we do an art show,
and we're recording on October 5, so this episode will be on air a couple months later. So by then, if there will be some information about the new signups, it all will be in the show notes.
So, okay. Yeah. So the next one coming up will be an invitational, so not a juried one. And that's going to be in March of 2024. And it's called Encinitas Artists of Excellence. And what that show is going to be about is supporting the artists who have painted banners over all these years, who are really fantastic. You know, an artist like Kevin Anderson, who is known for his murals all over town. Absolutely beautiful. Bob Horde is another great artist, local artist, phenomenal artist. People like that. So we want to honor them and to have an invitational show where we put it on, they come in, hang the work, invite the community in. It would take place on the art night in March. The next show that I don't have a sign up for yet, it would be like Save the Ocean 4. And it would again be in Escondido Municipal Gallery. It's open to everyone in California. So it's not limited to San Diego or even North County. We have had people come from as far away as San Francisco, and they actually come down for the reception. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, it is really cool. Yes.
So the only restriction is that we ask, for an ocean theme. And we get a lot of entries, but if ocean themes could be clouds if you tie it in enough. I mean, abstracts. We get everything: fabric, sculpture, mosaic, photography. We love it all.
Amazing. Okay, so by the time I am putting this episode out, I will circle back with you. We'll see what's going on at that moment. So the links will be up to date. So if you guys want to sign up for something, you will have a chance. If there will be nothing yet available for public, I'll for sure make sure that will link Surfing Madonna, and you guys absolutely, especially if you live in California. I mean, I know how many of you live in California. Come on, I see my analytics. Sign up for the updates, because yes, Surfing Madonna is amazing organization run by absolutely amazing artists and great people here in San Diego County, and the love for art is, can be just compared to their love for the ocean. So it's really great. Well, thank you, Cathy. So we have a few minutes left, and I usually ask people if I didn't ask you something, but there was something you wanted to bring up.
Well, okay, sure. Yeah. I think everyone has an ability to be creative and do art. And I hear that a lot. Oh, that looks so fun, but I'm not an artist. And they'll always say, I can't even draw a stick figure. And I always want to say, well, actually museums and galleries are not filled with drawings of stick figures or realistic people. I mean, it's like all over the place. Everyone has creative energy that they could apply to something. And I would bet that everyone has something in their life that they are doing that creative energy with. Might be the way they accessorize or dress. It might be the way they decorate their house. It might be the way they arrange their book club. Who knows what it is, but everybody has it. And I think what happens when you go to an art exhibition is that you become inspired by another angle of art and creativity. And it it adds to the one you've already got. So maybe you're not going to become a painter, but it'll probably make you better at doing whatever creative thing you're doing when you fill yourself up with an art experience. And I did a lot of research about, art and stuff like that, writing grants. And there was an amazing statistic that I think is great, and I'd love to share it. So I think we all know that doing art, theater, writing, whatever art it is stress relieving, depression relieving, anxiety relieving. I mean, we've all experienced that as artists. But did you know that participating with the arts does the same thing to the same degree to the person reading it, watching it, looking at it? That just going to an art show will give you the same kind of depression, anxiety, mood lifting that the artists themselves got doing it. And I think the reason for that is that you're connecting with them through this conduit of creativity. And it's in that place that, society manages its mental health, honestly. And it just feels so lost in society sometimes. So I encourage people to participate in some kind of art that you would enjoy and allow yourself to be captivated by it.
Amen to that. Cathy, I could not agree more with this statement. It's absolutely, thank you for saying that, and thank you for sharing the statistics and wrapping it in this, in this kind of a statement that really anyone can take in and understand. It is true. I absolutely, as an artist, I know that, and as an arts and culture consumer, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. Right. I find myself inspired by all the different arts. So,
yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. Cathy Carey, the president and executive director of Surfing Madonna, San Diego, Encinitas, California. Round of applause to you. I will ask my editor to actually insert the round of applause.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming to the show. Don't turn off your Zoom yet. I will stop recording. Thank you, guys. Go to the show notes, check everything about Surfing Madonna. If you are in anywhere around San Diego, I highly encourage you to come to Encinitas, maybe even after sunset, on the corner of Encinitas Boulevard and 101, and see this fantastic mosaic with the, when it's lit up at night, or even during the day. I mean, that's just a great thing to see. And don't just drive by, just stop and look at it, because it is a fantastic, massive, and highly interesting, curious work of art. And now, knowing the background story of it, I think it will be more meaningful for you to actually see what it is up close. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time in the art scene. It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple. And go listen to other great stories. Check out our website, intheartscene.com, or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.